the pilot washed his hands and sealed his fate. Yeah. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guessed my name. Yeah. But what's puzzling you is just the nature of my game. Oh, yeah. Stuck around St. Petersburg when I saw it was time for a change. I killed the Tsar and his ministers. Anastasia screamed in vain. I rode a tank, held a general's rank. When the blitzkrieg raged and the bodies stank. Ooh, yeah. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guess my name. Yeah. What's when puzzling you is the nature of my game. Oh, yeah. I watched with glee while you kings and queens fought for 10 decades for the gods they made. I shouted out, who killed the Kennedys? When after all, it was you and me. Let me please introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste, and I lay traps full of troubadours who get killed before they reach Bombay. Yeah, yeah. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guess my name. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, what's puzzling you is the nature of my, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey. Get down, baby. Come on.
Is anyone here? What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.
Very good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Supernatural Confessions Friday Night Live. We are as excited as you are to be here. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday evening. You guys out there, you are what makes this entire show possible and really enjoyable for us. And along with me today, as always, I have my kick-ass crew of co-hosts, starting from the guy on my right. That is Kimmy, all the way from Sarawak, Kuching. And you may check out his very awesome cap today. More swags coming your way.
Become model saja.
And that bald dude below me, actually, he has swap position. Everyone has swap position today.
Yeah.
No. I think on YouTube, everyone see it correctly. It's on just
Yeah.
It's a bit off. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that guy, Bad Boy, last week, we have given him a new name. Thank you to the fans of Supernatural Confessions, especially Joel Gold, who have made a awesome meme for him. From this day forth, he is known as the man of the house, Joseph Nikota.
Still the man of the house. Still the boss of the house.
Right now, is it Perth, Western Australia?
Perth, Western Australia, that's right.
And equally far is that lady on my right. She is Sonia Kurana, all the way up in Sembawang, godforsaken place. surrounded by forest and the occasional loud motorbike that goes by as we are doing our recording. So she represents the super rational part of the team, and she will be giving you the what could have been if it's not the Hantu on this show. So the four of us will be telling you real confessions given by real people. But stay tuned to the end of the show. 11:30 p.m. will be our featured confession today. And this is the confession that got Sonia really freaked out. Last week we talked about that. Today we are showing you Arfat's confession that's happening at 11:30. Also big props to Alvin the Cruz, working tirelessly behind the scenes. He is our smooth operator. And lo and behold, I got news today that Alvin, together with Joe and Kim, have asked if they could stream live on Monday. And this show, the new show that they're doing, is hosted by none other than the very elusive man behind the scene, Alvin de Cruz. So I'm looking forward to that one from you guys. I've been taking sneak peek behind the scenes, and I think you guys are hilarious. So looking forward to that one. And as always, if you're listening to this on YouTube right now and you want to listen to the podcast version, join us every Monday, Spotify, Apple, Google, produced by Kim himself tirelessly over the weekend. Monday night on Spotify, we have the podcast version of this show that you're watching, but stream as a podcast. On Wednesday, we have storytelling. And next coming Thursday, we have Where is Chichi once again. So fully packed week for you guys. We are always making improvements and changes based on what you tell us and what you want. So let us begin the night today, the 8th of October. As always, we get this out of our system first, and we let Kim tell us a joke, because SC doesn't only stand for Supernatural Confessions; it sometimes stands for stand-up comedy.
Well, you have a few other choice words for SC.
Yeah, but sometimes he throw me the ball, but sometimes he does not. Like last week, I was waiting for him to throw me the ball, but he did not. Until all the way halfway through the show, then I get to slip in the underway jokes. But this week, suddenly, he throw me one. Okay. Recently, I went to
What ball?
Recently, I went to look for a job. But I guess I was not going to be accepted in the job. It's a customer relation kind of job lah. So they asked me, when a customer come, what should you ask the customer? Then I say Ray or well done. So apparently that is not the thing that you should say at a crematorium.
Well, the one thing you don't say is charred.
Every week the jokes get worse and worse. And
I'm waiting for the day until like Eugene say, cannot lah, Kim cannot already lah. Don't do jokes anymore. Just move on with the
Just stop.
Just stop with it.
And I think we should tell the audience today, ladies and gentlemen, we like you guys to comment on this one. This is a very serious question for all you fans out there who's really listening to it right now. We have a serious question. If we were to get a tattoo, a Supernatural Confessions tattoo, and this is the design that we are going to get, do you approve of this design or not? Kim?
You should do a poll.
I can do a poll on Facebook, but not on YouTube.
Yeah.
Would you like us to get this matching tattoo, all three of us?
Five of us.
Five.
Alvin is in. Don't forget that guy. He's quiet, hiding, not saying anything. Five of us.
It's quite cute. It's the Pac-Man ghost, right?
Yeah.
Is it the Pac-Man ghost?
Yeah. So I just drew this like literally 5 minutes before the show. Yeah. So don't judge the kindergarten drawing.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. If that is the exact thing that's going to go on, then
we can ask the tattoo artist to do it better lah. This is just a draft, cikgu. Just a draft, cikgu.
Yes, please submit your draft for approval.
Oh, okay.
I like what SQ Fong says. Print on a long sleeve T-shirt or shirt. Hey, why not?
Not bad. Oh, you sent the vote out. Thank you, Alvin.
Nice.
All right, and for today's confession, we have from Veera Chai, Fakadong Dong Veera Chai. He has made a confession. This one is voiced over by one of the, but not the first sexiest voice in SE, by Ducky Joe. We also have a confession from Aliyah, voice over by Linda Cornfield, the lady with the accent. It sounds very much like the host of CNA, but then she breaks into the local colloquial accent and Singlish, and it's just hilarious as hell. In your KYH, Know Your Hantu, today we talk about Saka. And also we have with Secolastica talking about Mutiara Hotel.
Saka got so many. This is also Saka when you tripod somebody, right? You try and
when Joe Saka you lah.
When I got Sakayu, yeah, I was just gonna say that. Hey, what? Look at the face.
I'm not gonna participate.
I see the motorbike again.
See the motorbike again. The motorbike saves the day.
That is Sonia hopping onto a bike to come and do something to us.
I can only ride my scooter in the car park.
Ray Lim says, right, I'm here for Kim and for his jokes. So Kim, as long as the audience loves you for your jokes, it's going to be a weekly thing.
Why are you guys supporting that? It's painful.
Yeah, but nobody talked about where the tattoo is going to go. It's like, where would you put it, guys? Where would you put your tattoo?
I don't know.
Your
I probably
little Pac-Man.
I probably poll the audience for this one.
Ask them where they think we should.
Yeah, guys, where do you guys want the tattoo on the part of our body? I mean, it's also subject to whether our part of that body is available or not. I mean, I don't know whether Joe's tattoo is all the way until up his butt. I'm not sure, but
when you stay in the haunted hotel room with me, Kim, you're gonna find out.
Anyway, it's 10:09 right now. Let's get to the confessions. Kim, you've produced this show today as well. Give us a quick notes on what to expect for the next one.
The first one is actually from a name that we have always seen in the post in the group, whereby it's Virachai, and this is about his ex-colleague. And this happens quite a few years ago because he brought in the name WWF, World Wrestling Federation. It's not even entertainment yet, so you know how long was it ago. And something happened to the friend, but I guess it's what's scary is how he described the friend when he go and visit the friend after he got sick. It's the thing that happened to the friend. It's so much like something that we actually know. So I'm not going to say too much about it. Let's listen to the confession and then talk about it.
This confession is titled Akyat by Virachai.
Akyat by Virachai. It was around 1987 or 1988. I was working as a storekeeper in Seagate Technology in Kallang Bahru. It was the height of the World Wrestling Federation or WWF. Hulkamania was running wild. My colleagues and I were crazy about wrestling, really crazy. My friends and I would identify with different characters, and me, I was personally the macho man. There was a young guy in the department who was in his 20s just like us, whom everyone called Akyat. He was an unassuming guy who was of average looks and height. He didn't talk too much, but we used to arm wrestle each other during the lull periods at work. Sometimes we would go for beers and food at Lavender Food Court after a long day at the office. One day, the ladies in Akyat's department told me that he was possessed. A few of us agreed to pay him a visit after our shift ended. I remember he lived in Toa Payoh. Yeah, it is Toa Payoh again. We went to his apartment and were greeted by his parents and elder brother. As we entered, we saw a few monks in robes seated at the dinner table, chanting. We went straight to Akyat's room, and what we saw was shocking. His hair was disheveled, and he had dandruff all over his shoulder. Akyat's nose was dripping with nasal mucus, and saliva flowed down from his mouth. We spoke to him, but he did not acknowledge us. We started talking about work and wrestling and stuff, and still he didn't respond. After a while we gave up and went out to the living room, leaving him behind, seated on his bed. We got talking to his brother and asked him what had happened. He told us that Akyat had come home a few nights ago saying He felt like he was being followed by something. What? He could not be sure. That next morning he woke up like the way we found him in his bedroom. He didn't want to eat or drink and urinated frequently in his pants. By the time the brother explained this to me, I noticed that the monks had finished their chanting and had left. I took this opportunity to ask permission to be with Akyat alone, and the family agreed, so I went back to his room alone and closed the door. There was only Akyat and I. I started to ask him what was wrong and how I could help. He didn't respond but was looking down on the floor. In a flash of inspiration, I asked him if he was Akyat. The transformation was abrupt. Suddenly he sat up, ramrod straight, turned his head towards me and grinned. I looked into his eyes. That moment felt like we both just stared at one another. I looked intensely into his eyes and they were dark, really, really dark, and there was no reflection in them at all, just the deepest black. It was something evil and sinister. I felt it to my bones. The hair on my neck and arms stood up. His eyes showed me something very evil was inside him. This was the second time in my life that I actually felt fear. This type of fear is very difficult to explain in words, and he never stopped grinning. Something in his eyes told me to leave him alone or something else. Something bad would happen. Just then, his elder brother opened the door and asked him to eat his dinner. Akyat just slowly got up, walked out, and sat at the dining table. His brother said every time the monks came to chant, he would eat. Once the monks left, he would be like any other person again. We left shortly after that. In the coming days or weeks, I can't remember, the company terminated his services due to his condition. We didn't visit him after that. The last thing I heard was that Akyat was sent to Woodbridge Hospital, now known as IMH. This was likely a case of someone suffering from a psychological disorder, or so the medical people will tell you. But I believe this was a genuine case of possession by evil spirit or spirits.
This confession hits a very raw spot for me. Joe, since you were the one who handled this confession and you voiced over it, why don't you tell us what do you think about that?
This confession reminded me of last week's confession about the kind of possession, right? And the exorcism at someone's house. But, I probably don't have anything to dissect this or kind of, and we certainly don't want to debunk it. But I find the fact that something or that person just stops, turns around and grins at someone, just not saying anything, that would scare the crap out of me. That's a no for me.
That's so creepy.
Yeah.
It's either and then it's like when they look at you that way, it's either you look like a giant ice cream or
a giant ice. Are you hungry, Sonia? Are you hungry right now?
I did not expect
ice cream. I was like,
a few seconds ago.
So whoever that is new here on YouTube, if you watch previous episodes of Sonia, it was so much different. When we came on YouTube, she was something else, which is I have no explanation on that. So yeah, Sonia, why supernatural?
Are you trying to insinuate that
you became a better woman?
I'm possessed. Is that what you're saying?
It's a trap, Kim. It's a trap.
I'm not saying that you are. I'm not saying that you are possessed.
Okay, let me remind you. Let me go get my knife. I will remind you of who I am.
Kim, you started it. You see, Kim.
What Kim meant to say was not that you're possessed. You have possessed.
Nice save. Okay. Nice save.
Joe. You were saying.
I think it's just the look. I think it's the incongruence of that person's actions and the fact that he's meant to be possessed. That just creeps me out. Like I don't. If I'm there, I wouldn't even care if this guy was possessed or whether this guy was faking it. I'm out of the room straight away. I don't like stuff like that. Because I remember telling you guys about the dream that I had of my father where he
Yeah.
just started smiling and grinning, and just it got bigger and bigger. I don't know. I don't know.
So a smile
But
is not always, it's not always friendly. You've got creepy smile, and then you've got the silly
yeah,
smile. So there's so many variations of that smile, right? I get
yeah,
what you mean.
mm.
But Joe,
It
you have
reminds me of the
been
Cheshire Cat.
Joe, you have as in your profession as
Yep,
a psychiatrist, psychologist,
psychologist. Yeah.
Psychologist.
psychologist. You do visit people in many
Yes.
different institutions. What's the line that you would try to figure out? What are the signs you would figure out if someone is mental or someone is uh, possessed? Is there a sign for that?
Um, Officially, no. I'll have to say that in all my years working in psychology, that I haven't met someone
Hmm.
that I've looked at and gone, you know what, this person is possessed, or there's
Hmm.
something, spiritually wrong with this person,
Hmm.
even though there might be. I'm not, discounting that fact. But for me, the litmus test
Hmm.
for if someone was possessed
Hmm.
would be if this person exhibits signs or behaviors that are perhaps psychic. And when I mean psychic, I mean, are they able to know things that they shouldn't know? Okay, so if they can tell me that I have 55 cents, a packet of chewing gums,
Hmm.
and a pen that does not work in my pocket
Hmm.
without, maybe them seeing my whole body, then I could probably say, "Ooh, there's something really strange going on here." Or if they, one of the classic signs of possession, I think as understood by the Catholic Church, is things like glossolalia, or someone's ability to speak in a language they have no way of knowing.
Hmm.
So, if someone is brought up in a small little village in the middle of the Amazon jungle, they've
Hmm.
never been out, they've never seen visitors, and then someday he starts talking in Korean,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Like, okay, how has this happened? Oh, for me, that would be a bit of a test. Now,
Mm.
Mm.
seeing someone um look at me strangely, smile at me, growl, jump up and down, it might be frightening, but not necessarily supernatural.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Okay.
I thought when I was listening to that story, it sounded a little bit like schizophrenia, even if you think about it, having going into a different personality or a different aspect of your personality is. Would you have thought that at any point, Joe?
That would probably be closer towards something like dissociative identity disorder, or previously called multiple personality.
Mm.
Schizophrenia is kind of like when someone's perception of reality very significantly shifts, or is very different from your and my reality.
Mm.
So if I'm sitting here and you're sitting here and we're seeing an empty room, and someone is hearing voices or seeing a little yellow duck floating in the corner, right? Then that would probably be more signs of schizophrenia. But if someone is switching personality, so one moment I'm speaking to you like this, and the next moment I'm speaking like I'm a 5-year-old child, and
Yes,
I've
but if you
switched.
if you think about it, with him smiling like that, could he be living in an alternate reality? Like he sees a different plane. He's
Possibly,
smiling,
yeah.
But you don't use la floating ducky. You got duckies all in your room. Are you
I
sure
know, I
you want
know.
to use that example?
Okay.
Danger. Don't. Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that that there could be that break in what we see as reality, and he's seeing something else. So when he's smiling, we don't really know what he's smiling at, and that was the
He
first thought that came into
and
my
and
mind.
very much so. The other alternative explanation could be that this person has entered a trance state, or an altered
Mm.
state of consciousness, where
Yes.
they are kind of perceiving things a little bit differently than what we are, but not necessarily having that psychotic break.
Yes. So he could look at
So
you. He could be smiling because you look like a giant ice cream. Possible?
very
I brought
possible.
that back up again. Yes, I want ice cream.
I'm more like a rum
Um,
and raisin, so
and then the other thing was something that really caught me in that narration, looking deep into the eyes,
mm,
and that went on, that deep, dark, and how they say eyes are the windows to the soul. How
Mm.
far, how far do you think that goes? It's like looking into a dark abyss.
Hmm.
And that is what freaks me out. Not
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
scary smile, but
mm,
the
Right.
the the dark, deep eyes. The in God knows where that's going to lead you. Wormhole to where?
I do
Marriage.
want to point
What?
out. You can say it out loud so that Elvin can record it and I can send it to whoever
Say
that.
what? I didn't hear it. What? What was said?
What was said?
What was it?
What was it? What is Kim going on about?
Joe said marriage right after
marriage.
whatever statement that you said.
Yeah, you kind of said like,
deep
what would
abyss.
happen when someone looks deep into the abyss of your eyes? I said marriage.
Says the man of the house. If Joel is watching this, Joel, you can turn this into a meme and we can send it to Mrs. Dakota later on.
Joel, don't Joel. Kasian, Joel.
Yeah, Joel.
I wanted to point out.
Just remind us all right to wear sunglasses, okay?
I do want to point out that would be my point as well. When you look into somebody's eye, I think a lot of us have actually experienced whereby we look somebody in the eyes and you can see a reflection of yourself. Then you would be able to somehow communicate in a way to that
No, but
person.
Kim,
through-
it's very distracting these days. It's very hard to look somebody in the eyes because nowadays they don't even have real eyes. They're wearing those colored contact lenses. It's very distracting for me. I don't know where to look because they look like dolls, and that's even scarier.
Are you saying Akiat now is wearing the black contact lens, the one that similar to the guitarist in Limp Bizkit way that person wears? Is it that?
It's a possibility.
Okay.
Most of the times I have to tell them my eyes are up here, not there, up here. Look at my eyes.
You've been mentioned that a lot of times, is it? You've been told to do so a lot of times, is it, Joe?
That's correct. That's correct.
Good.
Unfortunately.
So
Good,
for me,
good.
right, guys, I have actually experienced a number of such cases when I go down and do investigation. And till today, I mean, call it whatever that it may be, whether it's a psychosis or a possession, being in the presence of someone in that state, I have never gotten used to it, never. And like this Virachai's confession to me, why I said at the start of the confession, it struck a chord because I have attended a few possession cases. In fact, my entire book on Supernatural Confessions, You Are Not Alone, is on a possession case that lasted for 2 years. And there was two cases this year that I attended, and when you go down to the place, it's as if this story from what Virachai said. The victim is on the bed or sitting down and is rocking. And for some reason, they always like to look at you in the eye. And a lot of spiritual masters will tell you, do not look at them in the eye. Whatever is inside this thing, they can actually, through your eyes, be able to read your entire life and use that against you. As you see in some Hollywood movies where the possessed victim can tell you your sins and then embarrass you and weaken you. The whole point of a demonic possession or a jinn possession, depending on which culture you're from, a possession by a very strong entity is to take over the person's soul, to cause enough chaos around a person's life so that it weakens everyone and isolate the person. And the first thing that you can tell when a person is possessed or not is the eye. You can fake your behavior, you can be a world-class actor, but the eyes is the one that's the most telling. If you can bear to look into the person's eyes, that's where you can tell. And what is also mentioned in the story where after a certain time, you realize that the person's consciousness come back and sometimes they ask for help, like help me, right? Or I want water, or they call ma, right? But then the demon or the jinn soon takes over again and the eyes glaze over and you see it's a different sign. Now, I'm no medical expert, so I cannot tell you the difference between psychosis and possession. But for the possession cases that I have seen where spiritual masters are involved, the parents would tell me things like, my son did this. Okay, I know some of you, like Ray, are saying you only believe if the head turned 360. Okay, I have not seen the head turn 360 before.
I don't think you want to.
Yeah, I've not seen the backward walk. I've not seen any of that. But I've seen superhuman strength. I've seen speaking the voice in a different language. And I think, Joe, you mentioned if a person does not know or is not aware of a certain language, but then it become proficient in that, that's also a sign. I've seen someone who can speak flawless Arabic when he shouldn't be able to do that. But then again, here's the caveat. They're from a Muslim family, so with the prayers and all that, he should be familiar with Arabic.
No, even if you're not very fluent in it, right? Joe was talking about how if somebody suddenly is able to speak in a language they've never been exposed to. Think about it. I always say the brain is such a powerful organ. Could it at some point and somehow unlock part of your brain that is in charge of language?
Okay.
You know?
So my Chinese, everyone knows, is very jialat, right? I
today I gotta knock you on the head a few times to unlock that part, is it?
Today I was trying to tell my kid to eat his dinner, and I was trying to explain to him what scallop is. He said, "Daddy, what is scallop?" Because every Saturday morning he has Chinese lesson. So I look at him and we didn't have scallop, and obviously that's wrong. And the wife came in and says, "Hai tai." I thought hai tai was actually seaweed, but now I realize hai tai is seaweed. Hai tai is scallop. High tide is when the water level is very high. It all sounds the same to me. I can't tell one from the freaking the other.
Clam. Everything is a clam.
Yeah. So, but when I drink, right, and when I get drunk, especially when I used to be a younger man and I would like down bottles of whiskey by the bottles, I would be able to sing in karaoke bars in Cantonese flawless. A Beyond song with a "Come Ting No, na 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 sweet you go." Flawless if I'm drunk. But if I'm not drunk, I cannot remember the words.
So the alcohol unlocks that part of your brain, does it?
Yes, yeah. It makes me a linguist. A cunning linguist.
But I was thinking about that today. Oh my God, what a Eugene, you're awesome.
Ayo.
All right, so that's the dissection for this particular episode. Kiet from Virachai honestly is one of the scariest confession today to begin the whole show with today. Anything that you add, guys, before we go on to the next confession, because it is 10:30.
Is it already?
All good.
No, okay, it's all good. Next one is Tall Figure confessed by Aaliyah, and this one is voiced over by Linda Confield.
Hi there. I've just discovered your podcast. I must admit, it's very addictive. I've got a story I'd like to share, as it scared the bejesus out of me at the time. My siblings and I grew up in Australia with my mum and dad. We often go back to Malaysia for holidays, mostly spending our time at my grandfather's house in Bangsar. My grandfather used to live in a very big house. At the time, I would have been around 18. I was living with him and his wife. I'd usually stay up late watching TV and chatting to my friends back home on the main floor. My bedroom was at the very bottom, whilst everyone else slept on the third. One night, I was watching TV on my own. It would have been around 2 a.m. I felt something pull my hair. I didn't think much of it at the time, as I knew I was leaning on it. My hair is quite long, and I usually keep it behind me, flowing down my back. So, thinking it was just me tugging on it, I flicked it forward over my head. A few minutes passed, and it happened again, only the tug was firmer. And since my hair was in fact draped over my chest, I definitely knew it was not me. I was scared. I turned the TV off and started walking towards the stairs down to where my bedroom was. The whole 3 minutes it took for me to turn off the lights, TV, and to walk down the 2 flights of stairs felt like an eternity, only because the whole time it felt as if there was a body pressed up against my back. At this point, I was absolutely terrified. I ran to my door and slammed it shut. In my rush to get to my room, I had forgotten to turn off the stairwell lights. As I sat on my bed staring at the door, I saw a shadow on the opposite side pacing back and forth. I knew for a fact that it wasn't an actual person. I am 100% sure of that. My grandfather and his wife were dead asleep at the time, and so were my cousins. Naturally, I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I asked if I could move up to the same floor as them, making the excuse that I felt lonely on my own. That evening, I moved my belongings upstairs into my new room. I was very relieved to be where other people were. As I got ready to sleep, I closed the drapes, left my door open a touch, turned the lights off, the usual. At about 2 a.m., I woke up suddenly. No nightmares, no noises, just a sudden urge to break my sleep. I looked around the room, eyes stopping dead on the drapes. I'm not joking when I say I saw a man as tall as the roof just standing in front of the drapes, his back hunched, with red eyes. I couldn't make out any clothing or hair, or even facial features. Just a man with red eyes. I was absolutely petrified. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I was just frozen out of fear. I must have sat there for hours until I fell asleep again. The next morning my auntie came to visit and I told her what had happened. She looked at me with a shocked look on her face. She said, "Alia, have you heard of the superstition about houses?" I said, "No." And she continued on, "If you have a large house, but do not have many people living in it, the dead can take over, good spirits and bad." It made perfect sense to me, considering this house was 5 stories tall, but it only had 4 occupants. I left that very day, and whenever we were to visit, I would never walk around that house alone. When I told my dad about it, he mentioned that when he was young, he too saw a tall figure standing in various places of the house. I'm 30 now, engaged, about to start a family, and I'm still terrified of that house. Safe to say they sold it, and I'll never have to enter it ever again.
Mm. No, Sonia.
Okay, somebody is not longer on the screen.
She's gone.
So
Am I
since
back? Ah, okay. For a moment there, I thought I went off into that house. So
abyss, you went into the abyss.
I went into the abyss. So I wanted to say that, you know how some houses just have this really heavy, ominous, foreboding sort of a vibe. Now, I do a little bit of urbex, and by little I mean a lot. Anyway, there are houses like that where the minute you enter, the the air is dank and it just smells foul, and all of that adds to the atmosphere of the place. Now, 5 stories, and how many people were living in that house?
4.
Yeah, that's an awful lot of space. And there's this saying, that even these other energies seek refuge in places. They need things to inhabit
Hmm.
and stuff. Could it be a case of just a really large space? And when you speak, your voice echoes. That is in itself really quite scary, having all this space around you. So lonely. I can't imagine living in a house like that.
So do you think that loneliness contributes to the illusion of the tall man in the window?
I was going to go with trees. Did they mention any trees on the outside and how trees can cast shadows?
But red eyes.
I was just at my girlfriend's house today, and she lives up on the 2nd floor of a uh, split level house. And she told me that she had 2 snakes come into her house just from the trees. So when I looked at her giant big windows, it's a big house, and how you have 2 snakes come in with the trees and stuff. So I'm thinking, for this house, could the trees be a contributing factor to how shadows are cast into the house? Look like a tall man, a tall, long figure.
Okay, that is one. That is one. I mean, possibility, yes. But there's also a mention of the father seeing the figure itself in the living room when he is watching TV. Could it be with the same shadow as well?
I mean, I'm not sure if it could be the same shadow, but a house that big, I imagine it would play with your mind. I mean, it would play with mine. If I had a house that big, what would frighten me more is not shadows, it's bloody cleaning it. 5 stories.
You got 5-story house, you got a maid lah, or 2 maids.
Yeah, you got maid lah. You got maid lah.
Mampus, the very thought of it is enough to scare the bejesus out of me. God.
Eugene, what is your take on this?
This kind of houses, every house has a guardian. and when you have 5-story house, you have not enough people living there. There is this whole energy vacuum where when the house is empty, this lack of a yang qi, yin qi will flow in. It's only the norm, and
That heaviness, isn't it?
yeah, heaviness. So
The stale air.
it can be interpreted in many different ways depending on different law, right? So in science, obviously with lack of human interaction, even things will just fall apart. Funny thing is, the more you use it, the less it decays. But if you leave an item untouched, time just wither it away. So with that in mind, there's a lot of negative energy in an empty space, or we call it an empty energy, right? Negative energy in empty space. And you have not enough people. Even if you talk about feng shui, the place is going to be reeking with a lot of different stale air. Now, when you have this kind of situation in a place like this, a private house that's probably built on the land. Now, you would also have possibly in the history of this story, which was totally not described. I'm guessing if the land itself might play a part. Now, why I say that is this: your run-of-the-mill hantu, your spirit of the dead, spirit of the deceased, your jinn, or your wandering spirit, they don't come in a kind of tall, large, foreboding kind of shadow. That's usually the nature spirit. If you go to forest area, the mountain area, your hantu gala, or your rock spirit, or the jinn, the nature jinn in the forest, or even in Thailand when you go and do your prayers in the forest, these are natural elements, entities that have been there for years and years and years. They would then appear in a very large, gigantic form. So my question to this story is: could that house be built on a land where there is an entity, a guardian entity or a nature entity that resides there? Because this house has not enough yang energy, the spirit is free to roam around in that place. And because many people have seen this spirit and it's made itself known to the inhabitants of the house without actually harming them, I'm beginning to think that this is actually a situation where an entity is bound to the land and it appears to the family because the house and the energy reverberates in a way that allows this entity to take shape and form and to have dominance in that place. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, so that it's not about the house; it's more to the land that the house was built on. For you,
Sorry, say again.
It's not
more
about the
tied
house
to the land.
Yeah, it's more to the land instead of the house.
Yeah, it's more to the land than to the house. That's right. That's where I'm taking the story to.
Does opening windows allowing light? This question and statement is for Eugene. Does opening windows allowing light in? Does that change the energy in the house?
Yes. Okay, so for those of you who are into feng shui, please back me up on this. Again, I'm no expert, but I have spoken enough to feng shui masters, including the one that I just invited down to my house about a couple of weeks ago. He says opening the windows, allowing air to flow. First of all, feng shui talks about the flow of energy. So when something is stagnant and doesn't flow, that's when it creates bad mojo. But when you have wind flowing from one point to another point, that's where good feng shui is. But if you think about it from an angle of a rational science point of view, when you have wind blowing through, you have fresh air. You have fresh air, you don't get sick so often.
Exactly, because you've got things like mold growing on your your walls and all that too.
Yeah. And also with sunlight coming in, you kill germs. So I get that whole nice balance between feng shui and science, at least corroborating that wind movement and science and sun would actually benefit the house. And in a spiritual form as well, the sun is what would chase away bad energy. This negative energy is afraid of the sun. Like if you are possessed or you are feeling unwell, you bathe flower water, you go to the sun. You don't hide in the shadows. If your room is always dark, open up the curtain, let sunlight come in. So sun has always been a very natural and free weapon against a negative energy.
Against vampires as well.
Yes. So many different laws and culture all talks about the sun being a powerful weapon against the supernatural entities.
Yes.
Joe.
I'm laughing because Despol 7 wrote, Joe lights on but nobody home. Look, that's my thinking face, right? I don't think very often, and when I do, I look like this. So apologies. I'm actually listening. I don't have resting bitch face. I have resting dumb face. One of those things.
You're gonna make it a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. This reminds me very much. And actually, before I start, I probably have a question for Aaliyah, the person that kind of told the story. I'm curious as to what the shadows actually looked like when she saw the shadow figure, right? Did it look like a shadow on the wall? Did it look like a shadow that was standing away from the wall? Was the shadow a different shade of darkness? Because it kind of reminds me of the shadow people that's reported all around the world, where people report seeing these beings, these movements, these shadows that they report as being darker than the night around them. So they call it shadow because I suppose there's no real other term for it. And they see this quite often. And I'm wondering if this is, kind of what this person saw. And Aaliyah, if you're there, if you can kind of write in the comments, that would be really appreciated.
So it was said in the story that it's tall
Yeah.
figure, right? So this would be a humanoid figure.
A humanoid shape, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, totally. And the fact that it's tall and red eyes, and the red eyes is something that's quite a very interesting facet of this for me. Like I don't know about you, but if you're walking out, like for me, it's the forest, right? You're walking out in the forest at night and you see a pair of red eyes looking at you. Now, I don't know about.
I would say,
Yes.
depending on the height of it, what would I say?
You say owl.
It's a bird. It's always a bird.
It's always the bloody owl. But that's actually my point, right? When human beings see red eyes, I think it kind of it hooks on to a very evolutionary fear of predators. And I was reading one of the
That's a
books
great
by
point.
one of the books by Nick Redfern. He's a very prolific writer in I think the UK, and he speaks of beings called cormorants, and the cormorants are almost like tulpas, or things that take shape from collective unconscious. And what he reckons is there's these kind of like a class of beings that feed on fear. And so they actually take the form sometimes of things that you fear, but very often they appear as entities with red eyes.
So it takes on the form of something more tangible, a collective
Sometimes.
consciousness or a collective fear.
Yeah, sometimes. And when they don't, the characteristics of these things are red eyes. And I think because red eyes trigger something evolutionary inside of us. They trigger a human's sense of fear of things that are just outside the campfire light, just in the distance, in the light. And look, if this was a paranormal event, could it be this class of beings? Things that want fear and are feeding on that fear.
But if you say that it is a behavior that's driven by fear, it's to keep us safe, right? You don't need the light of the campfire.
Yes.
It's a fear that manifests itself.
Not necessarily. It's a fear that we have within us. But there's this prevailing theory in supernatural and paranormal circles is that entities that are really negative feed on fear. And what better to create fear in human beings than in hooking onto something that we are at a cellular DNA level we are shit scared of.
Joe, I gotta stop you there. I think we are currently having a technical issue.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to start. I'm going to end stream and we're going to have to start it again. I'm going to do a low latency, so you're not going to get 1080p resolution, but you get a 720, yeah, guys.
Yeah.
Clap again when we come back.
Okay. So we're going to end stream and we're going to be back again just immediately. Huh? Oh, sorry. I'll be trying to. Yeah. Okay. End stream.